Hey everybody, it's Rob Zarrella. This is the first episode of ZARRELLCO Chats where I talk about all the different parts of construction here. As you know, I'm a construction recruiter. I have my own business called ZARRELLCO Construction Recruiting, but I wanted to add more value to my network. I wanted to bring in some professionals that would provide more for this network of over 14,000 people that I have. And I'm really excited to talk with these people. They have a passion for helping out construction folks in the industry. And I hope that there will be some meaningful conversations from the conversations that we have. I want to introduce you to Megan Shapiro. I found her on LinkedIn. She had a very strong LinkedIn presence. Honestly, I hadn't talked to her before this podcast, but I can tell that she was extremely knowledgeable and really doing a lot for her network. I hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you later. Megan, I'm really happy to have you on here. You're my first on this podcast. I'm really excited. I saw you on LinkedIn. I saw a whole bunch of people interacting with your stuff and definitely wanted to, find out more about who you are and what you do and ask you some questions. So feel free to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks. So my name is Megan Shapiro. I am a full-time practicing construction attorney, licensed to practice in California. My office is located here in Sacramento in Northern California, but we do service construction companies all across the state. And we do have sort of satellite offices in other areas of California as well. And in my free time, I I do a lot of other things that serve the construction industry. I a couple of years ago started a consulting business on top of practicing law, where I could sort of apply some of the same principles that I bring to bear on my law relationships with my clients with construction companies that are not necessarily located in or doing business in California. And so I do that through on-site team trainings. I do that through trainings associated with trade organizations throughout the country. One-on-one coaching that kind of looks like a variety of different things. And then my probably the most recent claim to fame that anyone who's listening and or watching might have seen more recently on LinkedIn is I also run a construction conference annually. So we just wrapped up our third year of the Converge Construction Summit. We were in Chicago here just about 4 weeks ago.
That's great. That's great. That's awesome. Hopefully the weather was good in Chicago.
It was great. So we were there at the very, very beginning of June. So it was not yet super hot, and we beat that big rash of storms that came in. So it was weather-wise, it was ideal.
Perfect. No, that sounds great. You were so busy. When I looked at your LinkedIn, I was like, what does she not do? I was like, wait, she does this, she does this, she does this. What inspired you to become a construction lawyer?
It's kind of funny. Nothing inspired me to become a construction lawyer. It was unintentional. I love to sort of say I fell into construction law and then fell in love with construction law. And then I married somebody who worked for one of my construction clients. So then I literally fell in love with construction law.
Oh, great. Great.
Yeah. So when I first went to law school, I like a lot of kids in my generation. I was a Law and Order kid, right? So my big dreams were to be one of Jack McCoy's little ADAs, right? They were always like the young women attorneys. So I was like, I want to be Jack McCoy's ADA. But when I graduated law school in 2009, of course, we all know what the market was doing then. So all of the public defender's offices, all of the district attorney's offices were all on hiring freezes because of the economy. And so I kind of had to quickly pivot.
Wow.
And so I knew I wanted to do trial work in general, so I switched over to the civil side instead of the criminal side, which is just anything that happens in a courtroom that's not criminal related is sort of falls under the umbrella of litigation, civil litigation. So I switched over to civil litigation. And when I started at the firm that I'm at now, I had been a practicing attorney for about 3 years or so. And they had a much smaller construction practice at the time, and they had sort of a little bit of a habit of passing it on to the newest attorney as sort of training ground. And so I kind of walked in and inherited this much smaller practice. And I got very lucky because the primary client at the time was a concrete subcontractor. And they had just hired a new general manager within a couple of months of when I got hired. And so we both sort of got handed this like litigation portfolio and like said, here you go, best of luck, right? So we kind of looked at each other and we were like, well, neither one of us really know exactly how our predecessors were handling this. So we're just going to build it out the way we want to build it out. And so I sort of discovered that I actually love concrete. I I got to go to World of Concrete a few years later, and
Yeah.
it was like a pen of still on the top five of my career successes is like getting to go to World of Concrete. So I love concrete. Fell in love with construction law. Went to the partners a couple of years later, because again, typically we'd pass it on. So I went to the partners a few years later and I said, look, I want to take ownership of this. I want to build this out. I want to grow the practice.
Super
And it was
cool.
so interesting because my partner, the Radoslovich of Radoslovich Shapiro, who started the firm back in 1995, he had different partners at the time. The firm had a different name, of course. I was a little baby lawyer. And he pulled me aside and he said, look, we like you. We want to support you. We're going to let you do this. But I'm just telling you, one on one, some of the other partners don't respect construction law. They think even a monkey could do it.
Oh
And
wow.
they think that it's a sign that you're like intellectually lazy and you don't want to challenge yourself. So you're going to be limiting your growth opportunities here if this is the path you want to take. And I appreciate your visual reaction. I don't know if this podcast is video too, but I appreciate your face.
It is. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
I make faces all the time with the
Good. Yeah,
boss.
because that's pretty much what I did during that conversation. I was kind of like, okay, well, like, I disagree with pretty much everything you just said about the nature of the practice anyway.
Yeah.
And I said, well, so be it. This is what I want to do. Needless to say, my name is now on the wall next to his, and none of the other partners are here anymore. So I'll let you decide how successful that choice was for me in my career.
Right. Oh, that's so wild. I can't believe that. Whew. I'm just taking it
You're
all
like, where do
in.
I go from there?
And now I know, and I'm kind of seeing. So I'll hear stuff all the time. I mean, I fell into recruiting. I was doing like college admissions, and then one of my neighbors was like, "Hey, I make this much money and I do this." I'm like, "What? That's crazy!" But it was pharma, and
Oh, yeah.
so I was like, "Yeah, I'll interview, I guess." And then I ended up meeting a manager who did like construction hiring, and I was like, "I could do this. I can do
Yeah.
this. This is fun because I'm more visual."
Yeah.
And then after that, I just heard, stuff like, "Oh, what, you want to work that? You want to work that industry?" I'm like, what are you talking about? I think it's great.
Yeah.
These people are like building so much cool stuff and like a lot of the stuff for the country that we really need,
Yep.
in terms of infrastructure. So when
Absolutely.
I heard you say that, I'm like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
People just need to think about it a little bit more, in my opinion. But
Absolutely. And
yeah.
and from a legal standpoint, I mean, to be fair, that the partner who said that his criticism was of the intellectual stimulation of the practice of construction law specifically, and was less
Hmm.
a commentary on the industry as a whole. But even still, I disagree with that characterization. I mean, there's so many facets and areas and nuance that goes along with construction law that just keeps it super interesting, super engaging, super exciting. It's always evolving. And more importantly, to my personal mission for why I do what I do, there's so many ways that I can actually help my clients. And that's really what it's about for me. So I think he really is missing an opportunity, he being the former partner, really missing an opportunity to make an impact, but that's
Well,
on him.
there's a lot of different subcontractors out there. I mean, why do you like concrete the most? I didn't even put this in the thing, but why do you
Yeah.
like concrete the most? I mean, there's roofing, there's like demolition, there's earthwork, there's electrical, there's
Yeah.
mechanical. Why concrete?
Yeah, and actually, my husband, I like to say he joined the dark side last year when he finally went over to the GC side. But he's been in mechanical his entire career.
Hmm.
Even started a company with his dad as a kid, right? His dad, it was like that classic. His dad would take him on jobs when he was like a little guy, right?
Yeah.
So my husband's an HVAC guy by training and at heart. So you're right. Why concrete? I don't, the honest truth is, I don't know if it's because that was the first trade that I like really got dug in nitty gritty, because that was the
Hmm.
first real client that I had a lot of stuff with, where I really needed to learn the nuance of the trade itself to help defend the claims. I don't know if it was that or if there's something about concrete, but I love the science of it. I love like looking at like crack widths and knowing like which ones are within a permissible crack. Like concrete's supposed to crack. I didn't know that when I first started out. I'm like, oh my God, if concrete's cracked, there must be a defect. No,
Yeah.
concrete's supposed to crack. That's what joints are for. Like there just was so much to learn. And it was so, I mean, in my early days before, so getting blurring the personal and professional, I was married to a different man first
Hmm.
when I first discovered concrete and all of that stuff. So before I ever actually had a personal connection to the trades, I was married to like an actor basically. And so he had like never worked with his hands, nothing, right? But
Right.
when we would like just be out and about, go, hanging out in I would always just be like, looking down. I'd be like looking at the concrete. I'm like, look at that flat work. Ooh, look at that brush finish. Oh, look at that. Like so I don't know what it is. I like the way that it looks. I always wanted to live in a concrete house.
Yep.
I have a lot of decorations that like I have tables that are concrete. There's something about it that I just really like, but I don't have a good answer, unfortunately.
Wow.
I'm just weird.
You like Kanye's last house, right? Didn't he have a whole concrete thing in Malibu? Yeah.
Yeah, that seems a little too extreme. Like I like mixing. I think my understanding of his house, like he basically didn't furnish it either, right?
No.
Like
No,
yeah.
I don't even think it was finished.
Yeah, like that's a little too far, right? Like I like it as like the aesthetic interest, like concrete countertops, cool, but like I still want a couch.
Yeah,
Like,
right. I know. Or like a rug or something. And that makes a lot of sense. That definitely makes a lot of sense. I love concrete too. Maybe not. I don't know all the details, but me and my wife, we went to Italy. We go like every now and then, and we're always like so fascinated by like everything that's still standing. And I guess
yes.
I haven't done a ton of research on like the quality of the materials that they use, but I guess whatever they use, it like breaks and then it heals itself and it just keeps going. So
yeah. Self-healing concrete was like blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, I was all in when I learned about self-healing concrete. I was like, what?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, no, it's great. What do you enjoy the most about working with contractors?
Oh, but hands down the people. It is absolutely the people. I mean, obviously I find ways to like what I'm learning, right? Like I just explained why I like concrete, such a weird thing. But at the end of the day, it is 100% the people. Like of all the industries, I mean, I wasn't always in construction, right? So I've dabbled in a lot of different industries, and every now and again I will have a one-off client or case or lawsuit that doesn't touch construction, other businesses, other industries, and just hands down, the people are amazing in the industry. Like everybody is united to a mission of like improving the industry, right? Like every person you talk to in construction is like, how can we elevate the industry together? How can we build together? And I mean literally and figuratively, right? Like it's so collaborative, it's so supportive, and it's just a vibe. And it's just the people. I just absolutely love the people, and construction's unlike any other industry I've personally experienced.
They're great. I'd say in my experience, I've seen a lot of people like looking out for each other big time. Yep. I've like called people for like a senior safety manager role, and they're like, I'd be qualified, but my buddy is looking and really needs it. So I recommend him, and I'm like, and then I'm thinking, because usually like when people refer people to me, sometimes they're like, hey, my son's looking for a job. Like he's an ice cream driver, he's a dentist, whatever. And the next thing you know, it's like, safety manager at like a top 10 E&R company. I'm like, oh, okay. But they're just so nice. There's just so many people that are very nice, and
it's very fraternal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like very fraternal. Everybody's really got each other's backs.
Seriously. I like that. So I've looked at a lot of your content, and I know that you spend quite a bit of time supporting women in the industry. What brought you to that?
Sometimes people are surprised. As a recruiter, this may not be as big of a surprise to you, but law is actually still very male dominated, particularly when I was coming up, right? So I graduated law school in 2006. So no, that's a lie. I always do this. I always have to go backwards. I graduated college in 2006. I graduated law school in 2009.
Yep.
But
don't worry about it.
Yeah, so it's even more so back then, but even still today, right? Like I'm still the only female attorney at my firm. We've had women, but I mean they come and go, right? I'm the first and only female partner and shareholder at the firm. And so law is very much male dominated. And then add construction law on top of it, and there's like a handful of women attorneys who are actually practicing construction law. And so I've kind of built my career in this niche of like women operating and trying to thrive in male dominated industries. And construction is even worse, right? Like I have a keynote that I sometimes use for women in construction events. And so I know the statistics really well because it's a part of my keynote. The most recent statistics from 2025, I think it's 11% of construction is women currently. And it's an even smaller percentage of women that are actually in management or higher level roles, whether that's ownership, C-suite, or management.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
It is. It's a problem, right? It's a problem. And again, love the people. I'm not throwing shade on anybody. It's an industry-wide problem, and a lot of amazing men also want to try to figure out how we solve that problem, right? So I'm not throwing shade on anybody, but
Right.
women in this industry are they're thirsty for guidance, for mentorship, for companionship, for camaraderie, for from people who actually have lived it, been there, know exactly what they're going through because there are so few of them.
Hmm.
And so, as somebody who's learned a lot along the way, it has not been a path that has not been without its bumps in my almost 17 years in this industry as a lawyer, and 15 of those doing construction. It's not been without its bumps. And so I've learned a lot of lessons along the way. And so I'm a huge advocate of everyone, but of women in particular. Instead of that like old archetype, and there are still
Hmm.
unfortunately women that are like this where we're the worst to each other, right?
Right.
A lot of women still operate on a zero sum game mentality, and there's not room for both of us at the top. And I wholeheartedly, obviously, completely disavow that entire mentality. And so
Hmm.
I want to put my hand back and help all of them rise with me, right? Like I always screw this saying up too, but like a rising tide, no, a rising tide rises all shit. What is that? The
I
tide
don't.
bringing all the ships up? What is it? I need to look it up because I use it all the time and I never get it right.
That's all right.
Yeah, but my point being, it's not a zero sum game. There's room for all of
Hmm.
us at the top. The more the freaking merrier. And so whatever I can do to help bring these women up, it's gonna just naturally, if we change that part of it, then it's going to invite more women to join the industry as a whole, and then we can increase that 11% on top of increasing the even smaller number of women in leadership. So that's
Yeah.
why it's
Yeah, it's super important. I mean, after, 7 years of this, I'm like, wow, I wish, I could place more women,
yeah,
and then also like, um, a lot of women I talk to, they are uncomfortable,
mhm,
and it's because the environment that they're in just doesn't. It's just not a
yeah,
good environment for a woman to be in.
yep,
Um,
yep,
a lot of names, looks, that type of stuff
yeah,
that is super unfortunate. And I think, people need to grow up a little bit,
yeah,
in my opinion.
yep,
I think that men maybe need more, you know, not training, but they need to just understand what
yeah,
women go through. And
hmm,
it's like really upsetting. I don't have any daughters or anything. I have a couple
yeah,
nieces, and I always think like, I'm like, how should they be treated? Everyone's a person,
yeah.
and I feel like there's not that going on sometimes, but
Yeah, yeah.
that's
I
just.
think I think it's just even the men that support women in the industry, I think for all of their best intentions,
Hmm.
I think there's only so much of the experience that they can even really understand because they don't live it, right?
Right,
So
right.
obviously we need those allies and it's great and love them, bring them along, like let's do it, let's hold hands, let's link arms, right? But that's I think the magic of having another woman as somebody to support you and be your cheerleader and mentor you along the way because that lived experience is just something that even our staunchest supporter male counterparts just can't understand or relate to.
So what do you think we could do, or what do you think like leaders can do? Because I mean, there's only so much that women in certain roles can do, right? I mean,
Mhm.
if you're a female project manager, you have a boss. There's a boss's boss. There's like a culture kind of
Yeah,
coming down from there. Um, the only way I can think is if it's female
top
led
down.
all the way. So I'd just be open to any kind of suggestions or advice you have. I mean, in your position, what you think would help with that, because that's a problem.
Yeah, so I mean, I think from an industry standpoint, it's top down, right? It's got to start from the top, and
Hmm.
it's going to take leaders recognizing that this is like okay. So for example, I was at a leadership meeting of it's a CEO group, and it's not
Hmm.
construction specific, and in fact, this particular CEO is not in construction. So those are a couple of disclaimers before I tell the story. But I was giving a presentation, a little bit of a workshop about how to have difficult conversations
Hmm.
in the work environment. And I was talking about the sort of plight of women as we have to sort of exist in male dominated industries. And this male CEO at the end said, yeah, I mean, your presentation, like, I'd asked for feedback. And it's like, your presentation was fine, but like, I don't know, I felt like I was in a time machine because we solved this problem in the 80s. Women are treated equally in the workplace now. And I don't really, like, I don't know where this is coming from. And I mean, you could have knocked me over with a feather. And there were three women CEOs in the room with me, right? And I
Yeah.
kind of looked at I was the guest doing the presentation, and they're members of this organization. So I kind of looked to them like, ladies, are you you agree with that? And I didn't say, I just kind of gave them that little like that nonverbal sort of like,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
jumped in and they were like, they
Help me out.
laughed and they were like, must be nice to like, again, like that just again shows the privilege, right? Like, must be nice to believe that. Like, I don't even know what universe you live in that you think we solved it
Mm-hmm.
in the 80s. Like, we all apparently have equal pay. We suffer no discrimination. There's no offhanded comment. Like, it's just, so it's got all that to say. It's got to start from the top down, right?
Mm-hmm.
As far as for change, for actual meaningful, lasting change, as far as for the project manager in your example, like, what does she do? Because you're right, she's got layers of bureaucracy that she's got to get through.
Right.
How does she manage and exist and thrive? And that's a harder question to tackle, of course, because you have to figure out how to maneuver within the confines of your particular organization. And that's why I've chosen to coach women, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I am coaching the women that are not in the top. So I'm helping them identify where we can maneuver, and we practice, we role play, we work through difficult conversations, how to approach it, how to come across in a way that appeals to the person that's listening to you,
Mm-hmm.
how to like, leverage all of these stereotypes that a lot of people still have. Like, how can we lean into those and make those work for us instead of against us?
Right.
And so there's no one size fits all approach. So I can't give you a better answer than that. But I think the magic, though, again, is in women supporting each other, because
Mm-hmm.
I've navigated those conversations. So let me show you what worked for me, and let's figure out and practice and see if it'll work for you too. And that's the best I've come up with.
Yeah, no, I think that's super helpful. I think that that's some of the best advice I've heard, out there just looking. And I can't, speak from experience, as a woman, but after recruiting for so long, I can just tell it's like a huge, huge issue. And I think that's why a lot of women actually leave
Yeah,
construction too. And we
absolutely.
don't want that.
No, no, it absolutely is. And I mean, you know, everybody's got bad eggs, right? But I personally know several women who have been in the industry and have left because there
Hmm.
are men in the industry, like in their particular organizations, who act like their mere existence is somehow a threat to these men. And then of course, not to veer too far off course, but I think it's been about a year now or so since that workplace murder made the news, where the job site murder, where the man took a
Hmm.
sledgehammer to the woman's
I
head.
saw that. It was
Yeah, I mean, it
brutal.
was absolutely appalling, atrocious. Like, there aren't words to even describe the horror of that, right? And he admitted that he did it, and he said, "I just didn't like having a woman on the job site." Like, he literally said that that was his one and only motive. And so it's like, of course, women are leaving the industry when that's the industry that we've created. And again, he's
Hmm.
an outlier. I'm
Right.
not throwing the industry as a whole under the bus. I love the industry. I wouldn't still be here if I didn't think that there was opportunities for growth and improvement, right? But it's things like that. It's one-off things like that that make national news, that women that might be thinking about it, the younger generations that are weighing out, what's my future career path? What am I looking at? That all it takes is a horror story like that for them to go like, well, not construction.
Right.
And so we have to address it. I mean, we're looking at a labor shortage that's only going to get worse, and we've got to figure out a way around it. And you want to solve the labor shortage? Get more women in the industry. Hard stop. Period.
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's tough. They really, women go through a lot, and in general, in this country, and then
Mhm.
in construction too. So I really appreciate the insight you have. This is really, really good.
Thanks.
Um, what are some of the biggest legal challenges that contractors face today?
Oh gosh. I mean, contracts are always going to be a perpetual legal challenge, right? Because they're always going to be prepared by one side, given
Hmm.
to the other side, and oftentimes with I'll just say impression that it's take it or leave it, right?
Yeah.
Whether that's an owner giving a prime contract to a GC, or it's a GC giving a subcontract to the trades. Even sub-tier subcontracts and material suppliers suffer that too. So contracts are always going to be a struggle. Now, of course, we live in a world where AI is like advancing, like I'm sure the models have updated in the 30 minutes that you and I have been chatting, right? Like,
Probably.
it's compounding, right? And so it's so interesting because that is actually creating additional legal troubles in construction, because AI is good, but it's not great. AI is smart, but it didn't go to law
Hmm.
school. It
Hmm.
hasn't been in the trenches for 17 years, right? And
Yeah.
so I've got plenty of clients who are no shame, no fault, trying to save a buck. And so they're trying to leverage these AI tools that they're being told are great, are amazing, can do it all, right? Like you don't need a lawyer. Use ChatGPT, use Claude,
What do
right?
they do? Like upload the contract and say, "Am I good?"
Yeah, or they'll have it redline it, or worse, they'll have it draft contracts at wholesale, which is like the worst possible thing you can do because none of the AI tools can do that yet. And so it's not good. It's not doing a good job, right? It's nuanced and it doesn't know. And sometimes it gets state law wrong. And like like it doesn't know, right? It doesn't see how these things can go wrong. It doesn't know what happens when the lawsuit gets filed because you didn't negotiate things on the front end, right? And so
Yikes!
I'm not like everybody's like, oh, AI is going to take my job. I'm not afraid as a litigator, right? Because I'm going to be litigating these AI contracts for years to
Right,
come,
right,
right? Like they're atrocious and people don't know they're atrocious and they think that they're good. And it's going to take a couple of years before they end up in disputes and people realize, like, oh, yeah, I shouldn't have relied on Chat
right.
GPT to redline my contract on this $5 million project.
Exactly.
That's now a bet the company case for me, right?
Right.
So yeah, so contracts are going to continue to be an issue because people are going to continue to make choices that are going to make it even worse on themselves. Again, I'm not throwing shade at anybody who's using these tools. A marketing problem and it's a news problem where they think that these tools are better than they are and they're not. So that's one thing. We're always going to end up having delay claims, which is a little bit of an offshoot of a contract claim, right? At the end of the day, pretty much all construction disputes are going to be grounded in the contract, right? There's a reason why we put so much weight and significance on the contract because it sets the rules of the game. So at the end of the day, even delay claims are going to be about contracts. Change order disputes are going to be about the language in the contract. But there's a lot of these different things that pop up here, right? And so there's always going to be issues that contractors specifically are going to face that are unique to them. I mean, yeah, a lot of industries have contracts, but the key contractual provisions that we care about in construction are different, of course, than any other industry.
Right. There's so much legal stuff too. Like
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you about OSHA, but then I was like,
Oh
I
yeah,
think that's a whole other thing,
it
and like
is. Yeah.
employment law and stuff. I'm
Yep.
like, oh,
Yeah, that's
geez.
why here at the firm, like we have a whole team, right? So I mentioned my partner Frank. He started the firm
Yep.
back in 1995, but it's not just the two of us. We have a team of attorneys, and one of my other partners in particular, Ryan Moss, he's kind of like we all do construction, but we're a full service business firm, so we service businesses of all kinds. But Ryan and I really are almost exclusively construction, and so we tag team a lot of stuff, and so. Ryan is the guy I bring in when it's OSHA. Ryan is the guy that I bring in when it's employment. Like there's so much there that we as a firm offer sort of the one-stop shop outside in-house counsel
Yeah.
model, but I can't do it all, right? Like if I try to master it all, I'm going to be what is it? A master of all trades is a master of none or whatever
Master
it
of
is.
none.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I am terrible. I need to stop using idioms. Like I don't. I gotta. I'm learning my lesson on
Maybe
this.
I'll cut these out. Maybe I won't.
I
We'll
know,
see.
right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know. Jack of all trades, master of none. Anyway, I can't be good at everything, right? And I know that, and that's fine. I know what I'm not as great at, and I've got a bench, right, to pull in. So
Right. Right.
yeah, there's a ton that touches construction law for sure.
So like, how do they find you too? Like, do they just Google and they're like, hey, I got this problem? Like, how does it happen? How
Ooh,
does
that's a
that
great.
connection happen?
That'd be a good question for them. I don't know if I know the answer to that. I can answer more recently since I've started being more publicly visible. And like I said, I do a lot of industry training. So a lot of my clients will come to one of my trainings that like a builder's exchange is hosting, for
Right.
example. So they'll see me out, like I do a series of six trainings for the Builders Exchange of San Joaquin, for example, where each training we go really deep on one key contractual provision. So they'll come to that. Some of them it's Google, maybe. Some of them it's traffic from the firm. Some of it is my LinkedIn presence. Some of it is they find me through Converge. It's just kind of some of them find me through podcasts. I don't know. It's kind of all over the place.
That's super cool. That's awesome. I always wonder, I'm like, how do you, I guess it's just someone who has a need and they just, they'll find you somehow.
Yeah, and I mean it helps that the firm's been around since 1995. So here in Northern California, locally especially, like we're fairly well known as a business firm because we've been around for so long. So that helps too.
That's great.
I've got really good relationships with insurance brokers and things like that too. So like the other trusted industry advisors that our mutual clients are touching. So they'll call, they'll have an issue that'll come up. They'll go straight to their broker first because they want to make sure they've got insurance for it.
Right.
And at some point, the broker might say, you should give Megan a call. Like this is now beyond you need to call Megan. So that's another, I get a lot of referrals that way.
That makes sense. So this question probably applies. What rights do subcontractors have that maybe they don't know they have?
Well, they have a right to negotiate their subcontracts, even if the GC is telling them they don't. This is a little bit of a soapbox of mine. The caveat is there are in fact some GCs, and I'm talking nationwide, not just California, because
Mm-hmm.
again, through consulting, I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of different companies. There are some GCs that truly do have a no red lines accepted policy for their subcontracts, and they actually mean it. Don't work with them. I'll just say it. If you're a trade contractor and you are bidding a job for a GC who truly, genuinely, actually has a no red lines accepted policy for their subcontracts, do not work with them. Why would you ever want to put yourself in a position of working with a GC that doesn't value you as a partner, won't even hear you on what your requests are or why?
Yeah.
Like it's a recipe for disaster. You're setting yourself up for failure. Something is going to go wrong. Almost no construction projects finish smoothly on time and under budget every single time, right? Like that just doesn't happen very often. You might be the one unicorn, but do you really want to gamble your company, your family, your business on you being the unicorn? So you're going to have a problem, and then what? Now you're going to be at their mercy, and they've already demonstrated to you in the very beginning of this that they don't care about you. They're not going to be sympathetic to your position, and they don't really care what you have to say or the impact that it's going to have on you. Because if they did, they would at least listen to you on what your red lines are and why you want them, instead of having a complete policy that bars it entirely. So that's
Mm-hmm.
my tirade.
Yeah.
That said, a lot of them will say they don't accept red lines, but they will actually negotiate red lines if you get into it with them. So
Got
do
it.
not take no for an answer the first time. If they're really serious about it, again, you know how I feel about it. I would say walk away from that project. But a lot of them just push back. And the easiest way to do that is to find the lowest hanging fruit in a contract
Mm-hmm.
that you can so easily get them to accept that once they say yes to one thing, they can't say it's a hard rule. We don't accept any red lines.
Right.
Things to look for that are low hanging fruits, especially if you're working with a GC that does projects in multiple states. If they've got a template contract and they maybe forgot to update the venue clause
Mm-hmm.
or the forum selection clause. So
Mm-hmm.
if you've got a contract that attempts to apply Nevada law to a California project, that's a very easy ask to get that switched, right? That's
Yeah.
a super simple ask. And so if they're even going to say no to that, what are you even doing? You're not even, now you're agreeing to use law that doesn't even apply to your state. So yeah,
I've actually had something similar,
yeah,
at least in my experience with like the super large companies. And I'm not bashing, but there's usually like more red tape, or they're more like,
yeah,
oh, you're going to use ours,
yeah,
you're going to use this and you're going to be okay with it. And I'm like, oh, I was like, can I call you? They're like, no.
yeah,
So like everything's in an email, and it's back and forth, like super
yep,
cold. And I'm like, maybe I shouldn't do this. So I normally don't
yeah.
help companies that are like that. Cause I mean, there could be so many other companies that are recruiting for them, or, whatever, that it's not really, like a relationship, I feel,
Yeah.
at that point. So it's very similar to what you're talking about, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I was going to ask you another question about contracts too, but
But I vented for too long. I'm sorry.
no. It's just it's like
You
3:30 over
seem to
here.
keep finding my little things that I really get on soapboxes
Yeah,
about.
yeah,
Like,
no, it's good. It's
my
good.
goodness, you want to talk about cross default provisions too? You got another hour? I could go off on that for a long time.
So funny. Oh, the question I was going to ask you was like, does like the type of project matter? Like, are you busier? Like, are there more problems with like a certain type of project? Like, I know there's a difference between like a data center and like a dental office TI or whatever, but
Yeah.
is there a certain project where you're like, this is creates a lot of headaches for people?
Yeah, definitely. So first we have to talk about the distinction between residential and commercial,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, because commercial, there are types of projects that sometimes I'm a little bit more like, ugh, but usually that's more about who the GC is.
Mm-hmm.
So when I have a client that's like, should I bid this one? I don't know, let's talk through. I'm like, well, who's the GC? And that's really more what I'm deciding based off of is like the reputation of the GC and how many times they've sued my clients, or I've been involved in lawsuits with them because they're not paying us on time or they're not approving change orders.
Yeah.
So usually I go more on reputation of GC if we're talking commercial. But in residential, at least in California, and I will even go so far as to say definitely the West Coast because I'm familiar with the
Mm-hmm.
construction defect scheme for most of our West Coast states. It's very similar.
Yep.
Tract housing is going to end up in litigation. Like it's almost a 100% guarantee that tract housing will end up in litigation because our laws are so friendly to homeowners.
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
incentivize lawyers to take those cases.
Yep.
And so if you're doing tract housing, you better price that into your bid. You better price in knowing that you are going to get sued. You're going to face a massive construction defect lawsuit and almost every project that you touch. And again, there are certain tract housing developers that are better to work with than others, and not because they don't get sued, because they do too. It's the plaintiff's attorneys that are the problem, right? The homeowners' attorneys. They get sued too, but some of them have much better reputations for customer service with the homeowners. So the homeowners are less likely to actually then take that step of filing a lawsuit as opposed to just getting it done before a lawsuit's been filed. Some of them are much more protective of their trade contractors, and so they'll mount a more robust defense instead of just simply falling back on their indemnity provisions in the contract and saying like, "Well, we didn't do the work. Come on, subs, get on in here." Like they all have different reputations for how they handle those claims, but the claims are going to come. 100% the claims are going to come.
Well, so I'm pretty familiar with that. I did quite a bit of business in 21, 22 when the interest rates were decent.
Oh yeah.
Is this an issue that could be resolved when they're building the houses, like on the construction side with the superintendents and assistants, or is this
Absolutely
like a
not.
customer service rep type thing, or just the quality? Like what?
I mean, for California, it really is like we have what's called the Right to Repair Act, SB 800, which is codified at Civil Code Section 895 at SEC. That's the heart of the problem because it really does incentivize homeowners to file lawsuits because a lot of the plaintiff's attorneys, the homeowners' attorneys, in my opinion, are not doing their clients a service because a lot of these homeowners don't realize they're going to have to disclose all of those things that they claimed as defects when they turn around and go sell that house. And they don't know that. Yeah. A lot of them don't realize you've got it like, again, in California, because our California Association of Realtors, they have a very robust lobby. Therefore, all of our home sale transactions are governed by CAR forms. And those forms have very, very specific and stringent disclosure requirements. And you have to disclose any defect that you sue for if you don't fix it. And so it's gotten a little bit better over the years, and that's really been because of insurance, not because of any change in the industry other than the rise of OSIPs or RAP policies, owner-controlled insurance policies or RAP policies, changed the landscape more than anything else did. That definitely changed the landscape more, but we still have those lawsuits, and you just end up with these homeowners. Like I would sit in a homeowner deposition, and I'd be sitting across from the homeowner who sued my client, concrete client, right? Sitting across from the homeowner who sued my concrete client. I'm like, all right, tell me all your complaints about your concrete. And they would literally, and this did not happen one time, this happened dozens of times. They would literally go like, they'd look at their lawyer and they'd be like, I don't have any problems with my concrete. My concrete's fine. And I'd be like, well, why are you suing the concrete subcontractor? And they'd be like, I didn't know I was suing the concrete subcontractor.
That's terrible.
Dozens of times. Again, this is not a one-time thing. I had one homeowner who didn't know what they were talking about. Dozens of lawsuits, dozens of homeowners. This would happen over and over and over again. So the problem is really the state of the law in California, if you ask me. So no, it's not anything that the industry can fix because they're not the problem.
Yeah.
Lawyers are the problem on that one.
I love California too. It's just, I was there for like 7 or 8 years and I'm like, I'm never going to buy a house here, I don't think, unless I live in, the mountains or the desert. So,
yeah, I think it's very telling that as somebody who did construction defect litigation for a better part of a decade, I've never purchased new construction. Never once. I only purchase old homes. I just moved. My husband and I just moved, and our house was built in 1975.
Yeah, that's a good
And we
idea.
moved out of a house that was built in 1995, and before that, we moved out of a house that was built in 2000, and then none of them were tract housing. None of them.
Even here too in southern Utah, I live in like St. George by Zion National Park, and realtors now are like buy like a 10-20 year old house because like it's gone through, because some of the houses are like sinking over here or something.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, what? So my wife and I, we found this one. It's from 2004. But I just can't believe that, and it was funny.
Well, if you think about it, right, because we had the big, especially in California, we had the big housing boom, right, in the early 2000s, where it was like they were selling them faster than they could build them. And so naturally, quality is going to go down when you're incentivizing speed. I mean, we'll end up doing what's called destructive testing, right, on some of these houses where you have to like pull up flooring and things like that. You'd find McDonald's pack like you literally bags of like McDonald's trash. I mean, the stuff you would find in the walls of these houses because these guys were just like going to cover it anyway and
Yeah.
move on to the next. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, of course these houses are failing. Of course they're failing.
I found some in my front yard too. I was digging up the irrigation line,
Oh yeah.
and we were like re-landscaping, and all of a sudden I'm like, what is this wire? And I thought like I hit a live wire or something with
Yeah.
the shovel, and it was like a huge wire, and then next to it was like a couple beer cans, and then it was like some cigarette. I was like, wow, this is really old. This is kind of funny, but
Yeah. Yeah. You're an archaeologist excavating.
yeah, yeah. It's cool though. You gave some legal advice.
No, I did not give legal advice. I cannot give legal advice.
Sorry. You gave insight.
Helpful insight,
You gave
thoughts and
helpful
opinions.
insight. Thank
Thoughts
you.
and opinions. I cannot, I can never give legal advice. I cannot give
You
legal
can never
advice.
give legal advice.
Nope, not unless you hire me as your attorney. I cannot give legal advice. I do. In fact, you know what's so funny? So I have a live stream. I do a monthly live stream, and I
Yeah.
had this mug made just for my live stream. Let's see if we can. Oh wait, yeah. Can you
Not
see
legal
it?
advice.
Hashtag not legal advice. And I would drink my water out of this mug because I have to. I very clear. I do not give legal advice.
Not legal advice. My mistake. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't hang around lawyers much.
I
and
know.
I don't know. So
Yeah, yeah.
super helpful. Super helpful. What would you say has been one of the more rewarding parts of your career?
Oh gosh, there have been so many. Honestly, there really have.
I need a warm and fuzzy Disney story.
I think getting to a point in my career where I have the privilege of being able to share sort of my journey and my story with other women in the industry, whether that's doing my keynote at women in construction conferences and events, or I actually coach some female attorneys, like one-on-one coaching, to help them sort of navigate their careers at this stage now. I mean, that is like that. Those things are on the high on the list of like most rewarding things that I do. Extremely rewarding getting to help other women. Like I said, I'm a big believer in this sort of like there's enough room for all of us at the top. So anytime that I get to sort of like help women feel better or navigate better or come show up more confident, anything like that, it's really really obviously like super fulfilling. In terms of an actual like story though, I did just finish up a trial. Very few cases actually go to trial. Your listeners may not know, but everybody sort of jokes about 99.9% settle. I mean, that is true. Pretty much 99.9% of all civil cases do settle. But I did have a construction case that actually went to trial. And it was very taxing on my clients. The whole litigation lasted almost 5 full years from the date that we filed until we finally got the trial decision. So it was a very emotionally taxing, very draining, really just yeah, exhausting for them,
Sounds
right?
awful.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm used to it because that's what I chose to do with my life, but
Yeah.
non-lawyers like the idea of having to have your deposition taken is like it's very stressful. You never know what and obviously the process moves very slowly. That's why it takes so long. And so you'll go months without hearing from me because I'm not going to update you if there's nothing to tell you because I don't want to bill you for saying, hey, no news. Right. So, but
Here's
going months
1,000.
without, yeah, going months with just like nothing happening, no update. Like it's just very stressful, very exhausting. These clients really hung in there though. They had great attitude. They were really ideal clients. And we had a sweeping trial victory for them. And so that was, yeah. So that one is another one that really ranks up there with like getting when we finally got the trial decision, getting to
Yeah.
call them and say it was all worth it. The last 5 years of putting up with me and other law and all of like it was all worth it. We got every single thing that you asked for. Like it was a success. And so that one and that just happened. So that's also top of mind.
That's awesome. Do
Yeah.
you guys like ring a bell in the office or something? Like how do you guys celebrate? Or do you
You know, we
celebrate
don't
with the
because we just don't have
clients?
enough cases to go to trial to have a
Yeah.
bell. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's so, it's so few
0.01.
and far between.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we're a small office. We're only like 6 lawyers and 4 support staff. So we're a pretty small office. So yeah, it's just sort of like everybody just comes out of, we're all just sort of celebrating out in the common areas of the office.
That's funny.
But yeah, it was definitely a very good day. It was a very good day.
That's great. So I'm gonna remember after this, not legal advice, and then
Yeah.
0.01% goes to trial.
Yep. Because honestly, it's so like our legal system is so expensive. It is
It
so
is.
expensive that it almost never makes sense to go to trial. I'm not going to say never because clearly I just took one to trial. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it does. And sometimes there are clients that have enough cash that they can fight the like principled battles, right? They're like, I don't care that I'm only going to gain, like, I don't care that it's going to cost me $500,000 to win $25,000. It's the principle of the thing. Now, I always advise those clients ahead of time when I can see that that's what the dynamic is going to be.
Right.
I never want to create a situation where they're surprised at that outcome ever. But I have had clients, I do have clients that are flush enough that they will, for the right battle, they will fight that battle anyway, even though it doesn't make financial sense. But for most clients, it really doesn't make much sense to go to trial. Resolution through mediation or negotiation, some sort of negotiated settlement is almost always the best course of action, particularly from that emotional standpoint. Like I said, the I think that's the thing that surprises people the most if they've never been involved in a lawsuit
Mm-hmm.
is the emotional toll it takes. I mean, we're talking businesses, right? But businesses are still owned by humans. And
Right.
they still take that home at night and they still
Exactly.
stress about it and they still think about it when they're trying to fall asleep. And they still send me 3 a.m. emails because they can't sleep because they're thinking about it. And I hate that for them, right?
It's
I hate that
terrible.
for them. Yeah, it is terrible. And so it's not for the faint of heart.
Is there anything that contractors can do proactively to talk to you less?
Yes, absolutely. There's tons that they can do. Because I hate charging my clients, right? I don't, I mean, I'm a terrible business owner. I hate charging my client. I just want to help them. But
No
I
one wants to
particularly,
talk to us, by the way. Like, no one wants to talk to me. No one wants to talk to
I
you.
know. No, nobody ever wants to. I know. It's like people won't call me because they're like looking at the clock and they're going like, well, it's going to cost me $50 to ask her this question. And it's like, cool, but you didn't ask me. And now it's a $500,000 problem.
Yeah.
Hindsight's 2020, right? But there are things that they can do, right? And so I never like having to charge clients for reviewing contracts over and over again
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of it is the same.
Right.
Some of them, if it's a big project or if it's in the first time working with a contractor, so whatever, right? There are times when you should send it to me. But there are also a lot of standard things that you can do that are not ChatGPT and Claude, right? That are things that your lawyer is teaching you to do.
Right.
The things I am saying, this is what I literally do, what I look for, and how I do it. And so I developed a framework that is super easy for clients to implement themselves. It's called the OWN framework.
Mm-hmm.
Optimize, weigh, negotiate. 3-step system. Anybody can do it. This is the exact 3 steps that I apply every single time I'm reviewing a contract. You couple that with my 8 key contractual provisions, the 8 things that are most likely to move the needle in terms of risk exposure, protecting profitability, bottom line, business goals, all of those things. There are about 8 key contractual provisions that really move the needle.
Mm-hmm.
Combine my own framework with those key contractual provisions. I'll teach you how to do it once so you know how to do it. And then you can do it on most of your contracts going forward. Again, there's always going to be those outlier contracts where the risk is so significant or the cost is so high in terms of project value, where you should come to me anyway. But for your run of the mill contracts, especially if you've negotiated an MSA and now you're just doing project work orders, I don't need to review every single project work order on the MSA I already negotiated. Let me show you how to do it so you don't have to pay me every single time. Pay me once, I'll teach you my system, and then you have it in your brain and you don't need me anymore unless it's for the one offs.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I do that, by the way, for outside of California. So that's what the consulting really started as is
Oh,
like,
perfect.
these are the things that are universal, right? I can't give you legal advice, so I'm not going to tell you in Utah this is how it works.
Right.
But I can say overall contract law is contract law and it's all common law based unless you're in Louisiana. It's different there. But otherwise, like this will give you a good starting point. Always review it with a knowledgeable construction attorney licensed to practice law in your state.
Mm-hmm.
But at a minimum, let me show you how to give yourself a leg up. Or if you do want to leverage those AI tools, then you'll know when it's wrong because that's always the danger with AI is if you don't know enough to know when it's wrong, that's when you're going to get in trouble. So I'll give you the tools, I'll teach you the steps, I'll teach you when to know when AI is wrong so that you can do it yourself without having to pay me or any other lawyer every single time a contract comes across your desk.
That sounds nice. That
Yeah.
sounds really good. How can people find you, Megan?
So I'm super active on LinkedIn. I
Mm-hmm.
post almost every single day on LinkedIn. I'm at Construction Contract Coach. Or you can find my entire web of websites. I've got many of them depending on what I'm offering. So all of them are you can get to all of them through meganshapiro.com. There's also constructioncontractcoach.com is a
Mm-hmm.
website where you can talk for contracts. DoItLikeALawyer.com is where I talk about my support for women in male dominated
Mm-hmm.
industries.
Love the
And then, of
name.
course, yeah, thank you. And then, of course, as I mentioned, I do have a construction conference. It has its own website as well, convergeconstructionsummit.com.
Perfect, perfect. And I'll title those and put them on the screen for everyone
Oh,
too, and then
awesome.
I'll put them in the at the bottom as well.
Fantastic.
But I think that's great. I love all the
Oh,
names you came up with.
thank you. I should, I guess, say for California contractors, though, the law firm is radshap.com.
Okay, radshap.com.
Yeah, Rad, Radoslovich, Shapiro, Shap. So it's RADSHAP.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Nice. I like how you shortened it. That's good.
Yeah, well,
It's easier.
nobody can spell Radoslovich, so it's kind of necessary.
I don't know if I could spell it, but I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Best career advice you received, and that'll be the last one for
Ooh, let me
today.
think. I don't remember who gave me the advice, but it's definitely something that I live by,
Mm-hmm.
which is I never make career decisions based on finances. So I've never made a decision about whether or not to change firms or what. I don't change firms. Like I said, I've been here since 2012. So
Mm-hmm.
clearly,
Yeah.
and I now own part of it. So I'm probably not
Right.
going anywhere.
You're.
But
I'm not recruiting you.
yeah, right. But every opportunity that comes across my desk, I never make a decision on yes or no, this is a good opportunity for me based on money. I strongly believe that I want to add value, I want to contribute, I want to help, I want to support, and if I'm making choices that are aligned with those goals and values, the money will work itself out.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been rewarded for having that sort of compass throughout my career. I've actually, before I joined this firm, in my brief legal stint before I came here, I moved a couple of times and I took less money each time I moved because I wanted the experience.
Oh wow, that's
And
great.
yeah, and so I've always prided myself on never making a decision about an opportunity just based off of finances. And I think that's for me, it's worked out. I mean, of course, within reason, right? I mean,
Right.
I just like everybody, I've got my monthly nut, I've got a crack, but as
Yep.
long as we're hitting my minimum thresholds, I'm not moving for an extra 15K. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
bouncing around. I'm not saying yes to every opportunity that comes in the door just because they're willing to pay me,
Right.
right? So again, I don't know if that's necessarily advice that I received, but it's definitely advice that I've lived by.
I think it's good. That's really good
Okay.
advice, and it's not legal advice. So
Exactly. Exactly.
it's not
Exactly.
legal advice. Well, thanks, Megan. Really appreciate your time. I'll leave
Yeah.
these links so people can click on them if they need help. And
Perfect.
really appreciate your time. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
It was nice to meet you. Let's stay in touch.
And that concludes the podcast for today. I just wanted to say thanks for watching the whole thing and listening to us. Really appreciate it. And shout out to Megan. Thank you so much. If anyone needs your services, I'll put her information below. And if anyone's hiring or looking for a new job, I am your guy. So hope you have a great one. And thanks so much. Really appreciate it.